The Industrial Revolution took place from the 18th to 19th centuries, was a period during which predominantly agrarian, rural societies in Europe and America became industrial and urban. The cotton gin, electricity, and other inventions permanently changed society. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, which began in Britain in the late 1700s, manufacturing was often done in people's homes, using hand tools or basic machines. Industrialization marked a shift to powered machinery, factories and mass production. The iron and textile industries, along with the development of the steam engine, played central roles in the Industrial Revolution, which also saw improved systems of transportation, communication and banking. While industrialization brought about an increased volume and an improved standard of living for some, it also resulted in often grim employment and living conditions for the poor and working classes. Before the advent of the Industrial Revolution, most people resided in small, rural communities where their daily existences revolved around farming. Life for the average person was difficult, as incomes were meager, and malnourishment and disease were common. People produced the bulk of their own food, clothing, furniture, and tools. Most manufacturing was done in homes or small, rural shops, using hand tools or simple machines. A number of factors contributed to Britain's role as the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. For one, it had great deposits of coal and iron ore, which proved essential for industrialization. Additionally, Britain was a politically stable society, as well as the world's leading colonial power, which meant its colonies could serve as a source for raw materials, as well as a marketplace for manufactured goods. As demand for British goods increased, merchants needed more cost-effective methods of production, which led to the rise of mechanization and the factory system. The textile industry, in particular, was transformed by industrialization. Before mechanization and factories, textiles were made mainly in people's homes, with merchants often providing the raw materials and basic equipment, and then picking up the finished product. Workers set their own schedules under the system, which proved difficult for merchants to regulate and resulted in numerous inefficiencies. In the 1700s, a series of innovations led to ever-increasing productivity, while requiring less human energy. For example, around 1764, Englishman James invented the spinning jenny. Jenny was an early abbreviation of the word engine, a machine that enabled an individual to produce multiple spools of thread simultaneously. By the time of Hargreaves' death, there were over 20,000 spinning jennies in use across Britain. The spinning jenny was improved upon by British inventor Samuel Compton's 1753 to 1827 spinning mule, as well as later machines. Another key innovation in textiles, the power loom, which mechanized the process of weaving cloth, was developed in the 1780s by English inventor Edmund Cartwright, 1743 to 1823. The transportation industry also underwent significant transformation during the Industrial Revolution. Before the advent of the steam engine, raw materials and finished goods were hauled and distributed via horse-drawn wagons, and by boats along canals and rivers. In the early 1800s, American Robert Fulton, 1765 to 1815, built the first commercially successful steamboat, and by the mid-19th century, steamships were carrying freight across the Atlantic. As steam-powered ships were making their debut, the steam locomotive was also coming into use. Communication became easier during the Industrial Revolution with such inventions as the telegraph. In 1837, two British, William Cooke, 1806 to 1879, and Charles Wheatstone, 1802 to 1875, patented the first commercial electrical telegraph. By 1840, railways were a Cooke-Wheatstone system, and in 1866, a telegraph cable was successfully laid across the Atlantic. The Industrial Revolution also saw the rise of banks and industrial financiers, as well as a factory system dependent on owners and managers. A stock exchange was established in London in the 1770s, the New York Stock Exchange was founded in the early 1790s. In 1776, Scottish social philosopher Adam Smith, the founder of modern economics, published The Wealth of Nations. In it, Smith promoted an economic system based on free enterprise. The Industrial Revolution brought about a greater volume and variety of factory-produced goods and raised the standard of living for many people, particularly for the middle and upper classes. However, life for the poor and working classes continued to be filled with challenges. Wages for those who labored in factories were low and working conditions could be dangerous. Unskilled workers had little job security and were easily replaceable. Children were part of the labor force and often worked long hours and were used for cleaning the machinery. In the early 1860s, an estimated 1/5 of the workers in Britain's textile industry were younger than 15. Industrialization also meant that some craftspeople were replaced by machines. Additionally, urban, industrialized areas were unable to keep pace with the flow of arriving workers from the countryside, resulting in inadequate, overcrowded housing and polluted, unsanitary living conditions in which disease was rampant. Conditions for Britain's working class began to gradually improve by the later part of the 19th century. As the government instituted various labor reforms and workers gained the right to form trade unions. The British enacted legislation to prohibit the export of their technology and skilled workers, however, they had little success in this regard. Industrialization spread from Britain to other European countries, including Belgium, France, and Germany, and to the United States. By the mid-19th century, industrialization was well established throughout the western part of Europe and America's northeastern region. By the early 20th century, the U.S. had become the world's leading industrial nation.